Deep in the powers of
Redacted by the Inquisition.
two lost souls converse. Welcome to
Redacted by the Inquisition.
Welcome to episode 4 of
Redacted by the Inquisition.
So, yeah, hello, welcome everybody. It's been a while.
Been a long while.
Yeah, a long while. To quote Jeff Goldblum, life, finds a way.
Finds a way to fuck our schedules, that's what it does.
Yep. So, we could be talking about the recent conundrum of the Games Workshop business. We could talk about the new releases, or we could talk about something completely unrelated to the current conundrum and talk about the Inquisition.
Why focus on anything topical? But to be fair, though, I think we should allocate a first little bit in the before the rest of this episode gets deleted by the. We can say whatever we want. The episode's gonna get us killed, so don't worry. We're gonna get executed for this.
Yep.
Let's allocate a little bit of time at the beginning right now to talk about what is going on with Games Workshop, but let's not dwell on it too much, let's not get into it. For those who don't know, which I think would be very few of you at this point, because it's been all over the news, Games Workshop posted essentially a new set of rules that they're going to be operating by, especially in the ways that they're going to be interacting with their fans. The biggest one of note being they will not be allowing any fan animations or such things that pertain to their property, characters they own or their settings that they own, which obviously is a huge stomach punch to...
Greetings, this is Magnifigal from the future. This episode was recorded a week before Alpha Boost's announcement of TTS's extended hiatus and the mass exodus of fans following said event. Because of this, allow me to give you our updated opinion on the matter.
This is fine.
Yeah, hang in there, folks. Anyhow, so continuing with the show. Sorry about that. Last episode, we were talking about my favorite faction. Now, this episode is the Pinkuisitor's favorite faction, being the Inquisition.
And it's funny, the reason I got into the Inquisition was actually, it was by accident, you see. Because I was used to know about the Inquisition, it's there, never really cared for it. But I remember I first got into the Inquisition is because I found the full audiobook for Eisenhorn Xenos, free on YouTube, by Dan Abnett. It was free on YouTube. And I actually saw it, and I thought it was Eisenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you really like the book Flight of the Eisenstein. I'm like, it's the Flight of the Eisenstein. I'll listen to that because she said it's really good. Turns out it's actually Eisenhorn. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I tracked down Eisenhorn, then later Malleus and Hereticus, the entire trilogy, and I loved it so much. I went and read the next trilogy, the Ravener trilogy, also by Dan Abnett, as well as some of the smaller audio dramas featuring the character Eisenhorn, like, it's Oculus Imperia, I think. Yo, shout out to Oculus Imperia, he got me interested in the Inquisition. Yo, shout out. And after that, you sort of fall down the rabbit hole of looking at Inquisition content, that being other things like Ian Watson's very old Inquisition War trilogy, and then the Horusian Wars books by John French. And then one thing I really love is the 3 audio dramas by John French called Agent of the Throne that follow not even an Inquisitor, a throne agent, and her exploits under the Inquisitor of the Ordo Malleus known as Covenant. And they're absolutely very well done audio dramas. And I highly recommend them to anyone listening.
Addendum, you just casually mentioned Ian Watson, just completely
I did? Yeah.
Casually just...
Ian
Yeah. I decided to look, speaking of, I decided to actually, not too long ago, I decided to dare myself to go to the website of Ian Watson, and I looked up one of his novellas, which is called Orgasm Machine, and all you need to know is, the way he describes the book is the inspiration came to me from when I was traveling to Japan. Okay, you already... Yeah, you don't need to say more. You don't need to say more, Ian Watson. He went to Japan, and yeah, okay.
I'm gonna stop you right there. just like, okay, it's imagine like you're in a room with him. So the inspiration for this book came when I was in Japan. You just get up and walk out of the room.
Yep.
Refuse to elaborate further, leave. You hear that one story, people say this because the thing is with Inquisition War, the trilogy, Ian Watson never finished it. I think there was supposed to be like a fourth one because it ends on like essentially it ends on a cliffhanger, the trilogy. So there was supposed to be more, but he never got to it. It's been like 20 years. It's been literally 20 years. There's actually a story. People say that one time Ian Watson's daughter actually went into a games workshop because it was raining. And then when they found out who she was, they kicked her out.
Oh, that's kind of sucky.
No, I don't believe that actually happened. But it's like, it illustrates it. I think it's hyperbole.
It feels more like an r/that happened story, sort of.
I didn't think it was that happened. I thought it was hyperbole, you know? Basically saying, like, if Ian Watson's child came in from needing shelter from the rain, they'd get kicked out.
But yeah, so my connection to the Inquisition is actually, okay.
Is me.
Speaking as a Nurgle skeleton, I have read the first 2 books of a trilogy that I have yet to complete by Chris Raitt called the Vaults of Terra series.
Oh.
And it's about this Inquisitor Erasmus Crowell, and he's also from the Ordo Hereticus. And he's pretty cool. He kind of looks like a slightly middle-aged Eisenhorn, but he still kind of has his own thing going on. And apparently he's not supposed to look like Eisenhorn. He's constantly compared to a lizard. And a long time ago, I once drew him with a lizard's head, the Lizard Inquisitor, Erasmus Crowell, as a joke.
I think I have actually seen that piece, and I'll get into my connection to the Vaults of Terra in just a second, because I do have a connection with it myself. But yeah, keep going.
It also made me realize just how terrifying homunculi are.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, the way they're described in the Chris Raitt novels, it's like, yeah, that's supposed to be an elf, but instead it's like pitch black eyes, needle teeth, and like, I can feel your suffering. Like, oh shit.
They're terrifying.
Or the fact that they created human grotesques and like, oh, human grotesque. Oh, don't like that.
That's gonna be a no from me.
Yeah, but I think I know why you said you're gonna tie that together with your side a bit, because you listened to the audio drama, The Interrogation of Salvor Lermontov, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's actually one of the characters from the Vaults of Terra series that I've read, and he's supposed to be like this. He basically is this false prophet, false angel character but in reality he was just a deserter guardsman who decided to rally up a bunch of gangers to try and save people.
Yeah.
And then he gets rewarded for it by being tortured by Erasmus Crowell.
And being shot.
Oh boy.
Like, going to the Interrogation of Salvor Lermontov, some of the quotes in there are really extremely poignant to, I guess, what it's like to be an intelligent Inquisitor, not just like some, Hammer of the Emperor, gun-toting lunatic. He says stuff to Lermontov. He says to him like, hey, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what anyone believes in terms of ideology. It's what we have to do. And furthermore, like, when Lermontov says things like, this entire Imperium is rotting, planetary governors do not care about the people. Like, people are getting, like, starved. Like, how can you uphold this system? Just those sort of, complaints, understandable complaints that anyone would have on the outside looking into 40K in general. It almost feels like Salvor Lermontov is just, like, a random person who just woke up in the setting of 40K and just had all the reasonable questions that any normal person would have. Erasmus Crowell, he says to him, "You're not wrong, of course. Most would not care if the planet starved to death as long as they get their coin. But the fact of the matter is there's much worse things waiting in the dark just behind reality." He says that the Imperium is a rusted, crumbling building. You can't really try to repair it without bringing down the whole structure. And if you bring down the whole structure, you'll be exposed to the horrific storm outside. So you kind of have to just weather it and patch it up where you can to just try and keep it up desperately.
Yeah.
Like, it's awful, but there's no other option. Like, what's the alternative?
That's something that I appreciate about Erasmus Crowell. He's very much aware that he is very much aware that the stuff going on is horrible, but he's trying his best to still uphold it as best as he can, like, much to the detriment of certain of his supporting cast, of course. Like, especially in the second book, Hollow Mountain, where he gets a bit more, I guess you could say, I don't know, I got a bit confusing in the Hollow Mountain. I should probably read the English version, because I only read the German version.
The German version?
Yeah. Der Hohle Berg!
Ah, nice.
Yeah, in the first book, Carrion Throne, it's in German, in the German version, it's called Der Leichenthron! The Corpse Throne!
Ooh, that sounds badass.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, the Carrion Throne series, that's the one where they realize, hey, the Golden Throne is failing. The Emperor's life support is failing, which is why they hire this freaking homunculus to come in and try and fix it.
Oh yeah! Yes, we will totally fix your Emperor.
And he tries to betray them but fails, so now there's just a fucking homunculus running around on Terra. He's just there somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, they just watch him skitter off. I'm sure that'll be fine. You know what? I don't have it in me to worry about that right now. I don't have the time.
Ah, yes. And there was like this one part in the book, hopefully it's not too much of a divergent, but it's like there's a part where Erasmus Krall finds a book called "My Wish to Generate Children with You is Only Succeeded by My Devotion to Him." A romance set on the reputed paradise world of Krieg. It's a romance novel.
Generate.
Yeah, and
I need to take a laugh.
Basically, like, I made this little comic of one of the custodies, Navradoron, finding this book and reading it in secret, and then in the back, Erasmus Krall bursts in, Navradoron, holy fuck!
Holy fuck! You sullied your hands with 50 parchments of heresy. Actually, that's not heresy. That's like the most loyal and pious romance novel ever. For those of us who have played Morrowind, I think the direct comparison would be the Argonian Maid novel. Those of you who've played Morrowind.
Shout out to those Morrowind players. I am fortunately not one of them.
Dusky's gonna appreciate that one. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Dusky's the mechanic cat will appreciate that one. But yeah, before we go completely off track and talking about one book of an entire faction, let's talk about like the factions of the Inquisition.
Yes, let's get into that, because wait, one more thing I did want to say is the reason why I love it's like, I know like how I got into the Inquisition, but the reason I stayed, the reason I truly fell in love with the faction and have stuck with it, is because Inquisition books are a lot like mystery, spy / crime novels, and that's very interesting. Like, I've always loved movies like that, because like there's so much more insight and machination and planning you see in Inquisition books as opposed into Space Marine books or Guardsman books or even Eldar books. The levels of investigation, mystery, unraveling things, as opposed to just, fighting. It's something I absolutely adore. And in that level of digging, you get to see how Imperial society works at all levels. You learn the slang of the average Imperial citizen, how their life is, how much their life sucks, their little joys and their sorrows. You learn everything. Mm-hmm. And you get to learn about how heretics work. Funny thing, like, you get to learn how heretics basically curse, which is something I find very interesting. Some notable ones are saying, gods of the warp. That's a very common one to say. And there's phrases saying people saying like, by the powers, or in the name of darkness, because heretics are all extremely edgy.
Yeah.
Before we move on, the one thing I do want to note, I want to leave this on is, the Guard sort of keeps humanity alive, and they win battles. The Guard keeps humanity alive. Space Marines win battles. The Imperial Navy wins wars, but the Inquisition is the reason humanity has a fighting chance at all.
That sounds very profound.
Thanks. Yeah, but for those of you who don't know, which I would imagine most of you probably know if you're here, the Inquisition is divided into 3 main factions. There are smaller sub-factions, but the 3 main factions are the Ordo Hereticus, the Ordo Malleus, and the Ordo Xenos. The Ordo Hereticus deals mainly with heretics and maybe some of the more internecine politics of maybe the Ministorum and things like that. They're sort of the meme Ordo, honestly, because they're the one who keeps screaming heresy and then blam blam blam. Heresy, heresy, heresy. Blam blam blam. Execute, execute, execute. That's them. Like when people think, overly aggressive, overly puritanical meme Inquisitor, it's usually Ordo Hereticus. And the Ordo Malleus, I think, are actually my favorite one, because they're the oldest of the Ordos, the first one founded, and as such they have a lot of mysticism to them. While other Inquisitors wear things like maybe armor or just, wear nice clothes, Ordo Malleus Inquisitors are known to favor menacing hooded black robes, because it sort of fits that aesthetic of they're almost like monks or like actual Inquisitors of yore, like of the Spanish Inquisition. And the thing with Ordo Malleus Inquisitors is they get tattoos. Whenever they destroy a particularly big cult or organization, they get a tattoo to commemorate it.
Mm-hmm.
Notably, they're called electus. They're kind of like a mix between a tattoo and a QR code. And one thing I found interesting is there seems to be sort of, like, again, I've said this before, there's like a weird working relationship between Harlequins and the Ordo Malleus because of both of their roles as demon hunters and demon killers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
again, I just find it to be really cool. Like, I find what they do to be really cool. And it's actually ironic because Ordo Malleus kills more innocent people than the Ordo Hereticus by a wide margin. Ordo Malleus are the ones who usually put out exterminatus orders because, demonic incursion onto a world.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, but then Hereticus gets blamed for it just because they don't know how to act.
It doesn't really help their cause when they keep yelling heresy, 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 and I actually, going through the notes, I did not know, sororitas are actually part of the Ordo Hereticus.
Yes, they are called the Chamber Militant. The sororitas are the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Hereticus. They are the militarized arm of it. So whenever the Ordo Hereticus need military muscle to back them up, they call in the sororitas. Conversely, the Ordo Malleus can call on the Grey Knights as their Chamber Militant, and the Ordo Xenos call on Deathwatch as their Chamber Militant.
Huh.
So
each have their, so wait, Malleus has which Chamber Militant?
The Grey Knights.
Grey Knights.
Yeah.
AKA the one with Caldor Drago.
AKA
Redacted by the Inquisition.
Again, like the thing about Ordo Malleus having the Grey Knights as their Chamber Militant, it's that they execute anyone who knows anything because they kind of have to. Like, if an Ordo Malleus Inquisitor needs to requisition local troops to fight a demonic incursion, they'll get those troops to fight that demonic incursion, and then they'll give those troops the highest honors available to them, and then execute them all.
Dang it.
And just list them as having died in combat. Like, they died honorably fighting.
Oh, man. Like, if I remember correctly, a long, long time ago, I think the Ordo Malleus tried to, when a bunch of space wolves tried to save, like, a planet or something, and
yeah.
I don't know which story that was from, and the Ordo Malleus...
The Months of Shame is what it's called.
Yeah!
That incident is called there's a String Storm song about it, and it's really good.
Yeah, and then, like, the main space wolf guy, he was like, wait, what are you trying to do? Oh, yes, we're trying to, execute them because they know too much. And then, like, the guy is like, he goes to the citizens, like, okay, get in the van. Why? You just get in there and go away. And then, like,
get on the wolf. There's no time to explain.
Mr. Space Wolf guy, what is this weird comet thing? It's a comet. But wait, it looks like a van that's going up. It's a comet.
Like, the thing is with the Months of Shame, yeah, that was the Ordo Malleus, but they actually weren't being led by a member of the Ordo Malleus, and I will get into that later because it's interesting. One thing about the Ordo Malleus that makes them so interesting, since the Ordo Malleus deals with combating demons, they can't publicly list that as what they do, because no one can know demons exist. So what they list themselves as is internal affairs. Like, what they say about themselves is that, oh, we're internal affairs. We investigate the Inquisition itself. Because they have to keep the existence of demons completely secret. But, ever since the Great Rift opened up, that's kind of hard. You can't... It's kind of hard to lie your way out of that.
You can't... Yeah, it kind of puts a bummer on things.
Just sort of average Imperial citizen looking at the Great Rift in the sky. Good Lord, what is happening up there? Aurora Imperialis?
Aurora Imperialis?
Aurora Imperialis. May I see it? Cox Bolter? No. Here's the thing. The Ordo Malleus is so secretive and so machination-y, they have a secret society in them called the Illuminati. What the Illuminati are, they're an organization comprised of both Eldars and humans known as Illuminatus. What an Illuminatus is a human who has been possessed by a demon, but through force of will has expelled it from their body. They've purged themselves of a demon, and this leaves them more intelligent, physically more powerful, but also completely immune to any and all powers and whispers of the warp. They're completely immune to the warp in any capacity, and they have much greater insight than pretty much anyone else in the Imperium. So what the Illuminati what their plan was to gather up as many of the Sinsei as they could find. You know the Sinsei. The human children of the Emperor who gained his immortality and traveled the universe as essentially wandering heroes and traitors. What the Illuminati wanted to do was gather up as many of the Sinsei as they could find and tell them, oh, we're forming an organization called the Knights of the Long Watch and your guys are going to save the Imperium. It's going to be great. But what they were actually gathering them up for was to execute them all at once as a sacrifice the exact moment the Emperor died, so that their dying souls would merge with the Star Child, being that part of the Emperor, which is his compassion that he expelled from his body when he had to kill Horus. And that would create a new Emperor known as Star Emperor. Starperor, which would then lead the Imperium, because that will work. Don't worry, it'll work. Sources, dude, trust me. This will work if we believe. And it's funny because a lot of Eldar were actually on board with this plan because these Eldar had accepted, one of these Eldar, by the way, being fucking Eldrad, because Eldrad Ulthran does not know how to mind his own business.
Of course!
Yeah.
Of course he's gonna snoop in there. Of course he wants to be the cool boy in every club.
What the Eldar were involved with was because a lot of these Eldar had accepted that their era in the galaxy had passed and that they would never reach preeminence. So they decided, well, if we can't rule the galaxy, we're just gonna get a place at the top of humanity. You know, we're gonna be at the top some way. And Harlequins were actually in on it because they believed that Star Emperor would be under the influence of Kegarak for some reason.
Of course, Starperor being possessed by Ronald McDonald. Seems legit.
There's so much going on here. I think that's why GW basically retconned this entire plotline. The Star Child plotline.
I think so, yeah. It would have been too insane.
Yeah, just so you know, this is all written by Ian Watson, so do keep that in mind.
Of course.
And now it all makes sense.
It makes sense now. Fuck. It all comes back to Ian Watson. I'm sure of it. It all comes back to this dude.
The GW's excuse for nixing the plotline of Starchild and the Sinsei was that, it was actually a plot by Tzeentch to manipulate everyone. It was all a plot by Tzeentch. So I'm just like, so are you just saying Ian Watson is Tzeentch? Because I believe that.
That seems even more legit now,
I openly believe that. There's actually a secret organization within the secret organization of the Illuminati, because the Ordo Malleus does nothing by a half measure, called the Ordo Hydra. What the Ordo Hydra wants to do is, they say, fuck it, we're not going to do this shit with the Sensei, that's going to take too long. Instead, we're going to turn humanity into a hive mind, using this warp entity known as the Hydra.
Oh my god.
And then once we have combined all of humanity into a hive mind, humanity will be strong enough to kill any warp entity and every single Xenos, making them mono-dominance, oddly enough.
Jesus. And this is all under the umbrella Ordo Malleus, by the way.
Yes, and the Emperor himself did not know about any of this, because they kept it a secret from the Emperor himself.
Press X to doubt.
One of the members of the Ordo Hydra was a man named, his name's like Zeph or something. He's called the Harlequin Man, in that he's just a man who decided to become a Harlequin. He just saw Harlequins, he's like, man, that looks really cool, I'm gonna do that, and he just did. Like, he's just a guy. He's an Illuminatus, sure, but he's just like a guy who became a Harlequin because he wanted to. And he's one of the leading members of the Ordo Hydra. In the Inquisition War books, the main Inquisitor that it's about, Jock Draco, he, gets wrapped up in all this, tries to foil these plans. He actually gets invited into the Black Library. He steals a book, because every time an Inquisitor gets invited into the Black Library, they steal something. Like, you want to know what he steals?
What does he steal?
The Book of the Ranadandra.
Of course.
Yeah, he just
fucking course.
I feel so bad for whatever Harlequin. Just like, let's just check on that human we put in here. Oh, he's gone. Oh, so's the Book of the Ranadandra. I'm fucking fired. I'm so fired. He just has to like get some crayons and some paper and just try and redraw the Book of the Ranadandra and hope nobody notices. Just sobbing with crayons. I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, that's enough about the Ordo Malleus. I dragged that on too long. Next is the Ordo Xenos, and the thing about the Ordo Xenos is that they have a lot of actually really chill Inquisitors.
Yes.
And some really interesting characters, like You know, obviously Inquisitor Eisenhorn and Inquisitor Ravener.
Ravener, aka the Angry Chairman.
Everyone in the book literally just calls him the Chair. They take on a 14-year-old crackhead onto their crew, and he just refers to him as, he's like, hey, where's the chair? Is the chair okay? He just calls him the Chair.
He's the skeleton chair meme. I sent you that picture once, and that's an accurate description of Ravener. He's the...
It really is, because he's basically in a state of constant screaming nightmare. Oh god. And then there's Cryptman.
Cryptman!
No chill.
Heresy, important information on xenoanatomy. Heresy.
For those of you who don't know, Cryptman is the guy who basically exterminated like 12 planets to create a fire break against the encroaching horde of the Tyranids. It kind of worked, but like, did it work? Did it work?
It's all for the sake of the humanity, you stupid git.
Don't worry, everyone. I have a plan.
I would be remiss if we didn't mention the most important Inquisitor of them all, Amberly Vale, from the Caiaphas Cain novels, aka Caiaphas Cain's totally not girlfriend.
What order is she with?
I think she is from Ordo Xenos. I remember correctly. Yeah, she's from Ordo Xenos.
Ah, nice. Very pertinent.
Which gives me the opportunity to talk a little bit about Caiaphas Cain,
hero of the Imperium.
So, Amberly Vale, what's interesting about her, the way she was introduced basically as this very sort of, actually very dainty sort of character. Sort of very quiet, reserved, very friendly, especially to Caiaphas Cain. And then, like, the moment shit gets real, she immediately drops that facade and she just goes full, like, badass mode. She can go toe-to-toe with a lot of Xenos characters, like Eldar and Tau and stuff like that. She can very well communicate with these other Xenos characters because that's what she is trained to do. Mm-hmm. Seeing her, like, being very upfront and no-nonsense with, like, Tau and with Eldar and speaking with them quite fluently. It's really cool.
Like, again, that's very interesting. And I think that's one reason why Ordo Xenos Inquisitors generally tend to be really worldly and grounded people. Because you have to travel so much, and you learn so much by having to interact with other Xenos. Because remember, the Ordo Xenos are the ones who arranged the Coven of Isha, which is like a mutual defense treaty with the Ordo Xenos and Craftworld Ultway.
Oh.
They're just very worldly like that. Especially the greatest Inquisitor and the greatest character in all of 40k, Bronislaw Czevak.
Bronislaw Czevak!
He is the best character in 40k, and I will die by that statement. One thing to explain is, like, just the Inquisition itself is divided into so many sub-factions. You know, there's Puritans, and there's Radicals, and then there's sub-factions within that, like there's Thorians who believe that they can revive the Emperor, or that he will be revived somehow. Some Thorians are very puritanical. Some are extremely radical and dangerous, like Horusians, who want to create a pure vessel for the Emperor's spirit to inhabit. There are Xanthites, who seek to utilize warp artifacts for their own gain in their war against chaos. Use the enemy's weapons against them. There's Amalathians, who believe everything is going fine, even though it's clearly not. And there's an interesting thing. Inquisitors tend to start out as Puritans, but morph into radicals as they go along their career. Like, that's generally the through line.
Interesting. Because
you just learn more about the galaxy, you know? You learn how things work over time. And even then, it's not just, like, their ideologies. There's way of dealing with things. There are Inquisitors known as Militants, who just call in the army at the drop of a hat. There's Judicars, which are known to just execute anyone they come across. There are machinators, who are known to have large interweaving schemes, webs of plans within plans within plans. That's why Inquisitors are so interesting as characters, because with a Space Marine, you have a Space Marine. With an Eldar, you have an Eldar. With a Guardsman, you have a Guardsman. But with Inquisitors, you could be dealing with anyone from Sherlock Holmes to Judge Dredd.
Makes me feel kind of bad. Like, I need to, like, really read up on more, like, these, Inquisition novels, especially Ravener, because they seem like fun books, even though it's a sequel to the Eisenhorn trilogy. But I think I would probably have more fun with, like, because it's a fucking chair.
It's a chair with guns. Like, he has guns in his chair. Like, they just pop out and he just starts shooting. So anyway, I started blasting. One key thing within the Ravener trilogy is them adopting, like, a 14-year-old crackhead.
Yeah.
They all love him so much. This crackhead is now our son. No one messed with the crackhead.
This is now our child. We've only known him for 2 seconds, but I already want to kill everyone in this room and then myself if anything bad happens to him.
Just a crying teenage crackhead on the floor. You're our friend now. you can absolutely read the Ravener trilogy without reading Eisenhorn first. It's kind of self-contained, so I think you absolutely could, if you have, like, at least a cursory knowledge of Eisenhorn as a character.
Cool.
I should explain this. The way an Inquisitor's retinue is organized is, at the top are Lord Inquisitors, which is mostly an honorary title, and is granted at the behest of other Lord Inquisitors. You know, it just shows that it's just a rank of seniority. Then there's Inquisitors themselves, you know about them.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath them are Interrogators, who are, like, junior Inquisitors, basically. They're actually Inquisitors in training. An Interrogator will eventually become an Inquisitor. It's literally like a Deputy Inquisitor. Below them are Throne Agents. They're also called Trusted Acolytes. They're given more responsibility than regular Acolytes and have a degree of autonomy. The absolutely amazing Agents of the Throne series deals with a Throne Agent, Ianthe. She's like a female guardsman. She's a complete badass. Absolutely amazing. Please listen to those. They're like smaller Inquisitors in their own right, but they still serve under an Inquisitor. They're just like, again, they're acolytes that are more trusted. Then there are acolytes who just sort of follow orders and might never truly understand what's happening, but, you know, they do their best.
Oh yeah, one of those acolytes from the Vaults of Terra series is my favorite. That's Luz Spinoza or Luce Spinoza. She's a really badass character. She's just trying her best. She's just trying to be like a good second hand to Erasmus Crowell. And she has like a cool badass fight with a Vindicar assassin, I believe. Then they realize, oh, you're just trying to find your old boss, and it's like, oh, like she's really nice.
Aww.
She tries to be like super helpful and stuff.
Is she an acolyte or a Throne Agent?
Oh no, I checked. She's an interrogator.
Yeah, interrogator. That means she's eventually going to become an Inquisitor herself, which is why she serves as the second hand to Erasmus Crowell.
Yeah,
because interrogators are going to shadow their Inquisitor very closely, try to impress them, do the best they can, because they're literally training to become an Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm. And then there, of course, I think you wanted to go on to the Sanctioned Xenos.
Mm-hmm. An Inquisitor can have a Xenos at their side working with them, but they have to be kept on a tight leash and have a tattoo marking them as being under the Inquisition's thumb. That could be anyone. It could be maybe a Kroot who owes a life debt, a Xenos you saved, or an Eldar with literally nowhere to go. Like maybe a Corsair or a Ranger who has run afoul and might get themselves killed if they're alone and they just have nowhere else to go. So they just end up in the arms of the Inquisition. Yeah, again, a lot of Inquisitors would find the use of a Sanctioned Xenos to be heresy, but then there are other Inquisitors who will just have Xenos with them.
Or a Sanctioned Orc.
A Sanctioned Orc.
They probably keep him around because they can... They're their head of engineering, and like...
The engineer is here.
Trust me, I'm an engineer! How the fuck did I get here?
God. Are you sure this will work? I have no idea. And then below them, obviously, are demon hosts, which are demons that are bound and chastened into a mortal shell of sorts, and can be used either for combat or for arcane information. And they're used by only the most radical Inquisitors.
Or for emotional support, like in the Eisenhorn trilogy. Apparently, the only thing I know about the Eisenhorn trilogy is this one art piece somebody did where like, come on, smile, Eisenhorn. No.
That's the funny thing. Eisenhorn literally can't smile, by the way. He has partial facial paralysis.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That's one of the most famous demon hosts of an Inquisitor is the demon known as Cherubael. Spoilers for a book that's over 20 years old. Eisenhorn eventually, near the end of the series, gets a demon host known as Cherubael, which he uses for combat, also for arcane information, that sort of thing. Honestly, oddly enough, Gilliman actually uses a demon host in the new Plague Wars book trilogy.
Ah yes, get your emotional support demon host, everybody. Step right up, get your emotional support demon host. That's
what Skelly is to the Pinkuisitor. Just an emotional support demon host.
Yeah, that's probably the lore. It is I, your emotional support demon host.
Is that a demon? No, she's just smelly.
That is actually a very apt description. I just came back from a jog.
But for those of you who want to get into the Inquisition, I would recommend, if you're more into characters, like a deep dive into the characters themselves, look into Dan Abnett's Eisenhorn trilogy. It's absolutely wonderful. But if you like maybe some of things with a bigger scope, learning about the wider world, look into the Herusian Wars series by John French. Both absolutely amazing.
You live messaged me a lot about this. This seems like a very cool series. Maybe I should get into the Herusian Wars.
Like, they can be a little bit hard to follow, but they're great. I think the action is really good. It gives more insight into fighting demons. Covenant himself can maybe be a little bit dry as a character, And I do think I preferred John French's Agent of the Throne audio drama series. Do get into that if you can, because it has more of a first-person past tense narrative style like the Eisenhorn books, which I always find really interesting because it lets you learn more about a character. But I think the best Inquisition author is Rob Sanders, because he made none other than Bronislaw Czevak. And now let's get into that to cap this episode off.
Yes.
So Bronislaw Czevak, he's an Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos, and he has a deep interest in the Eldar. He works with a lot of Eldar. So much so that he actually gets invited to see an Eldar dance, like something very few humans ever get to see. And he eventually gets invited into the Black Library by the Eldar.
Does he steal something?
Not yet. He gets invited because they think, hey, this guy can help us fight Ahriman. I think people forget how much of a menace Ahriman is to the Eldar. Like, he does scare them. He terrifies them. They're like, hey, this Inquisitor, he can maybe help us fight Ahriman. So he goes to the Black Library, he knows where it is, but then he ends up getting himself captured by Ahriman, and Ahriman tortures him.
Of course, that's like his go-to thing.
You know how Ahriman tortures him?
Is it electrocution or...
No,
Mind freak?
It's kind of a mind thing. He says to him basically,
Tell me all your darkest, most shameful secrets.
you know what the first thing he fucking says to Ozek Ahriman is? One time in Skolum during shooting practice, the gun exploded in my hands and I peed my pants. The first thing out of his mouth is that. I peed my pants.
Oh my god.
Eventually, he escapes, but the Eldar, knowing that he's compromised, knowing that he's a liability, they lock him in the Black Library and keep him there. And they're planning to execute him. And he's not having it. He doesn't want to be executed. So what does he do? He escapes. And he steals something.
Of course.
What does he steal? A book known as the Atlas Infernal, which is a book that serves as a ever-changing living map of the webway, because it is made of the skin and flesh of Sisters of Silence.
Oh.
It's a living thing.
Oh.
The veins change to show the pathways through the webway. It's made by the Emperor himself.
And so he uses it to escape then,
Yeah, he
right?
used it to escape, and he just keeps it with him to explore the webway. But here's the thing. The Eldar stole this book from the Imperials because they didn't trust them with it. Basically, they wake up and they see that he's gone, and, he's kidnapped what we've rightfully stolen. So they send Harlequins after him. And it really looks like the Harlequins are going to kill him. What does he do when faced with these Harlequins?
Ooh, what does he do?
The thing about the Atlas Infernal is that the book, since it's made of the flesh of Sisters of Silence, it's psychically negative.
It's made of blanks.
Yeah, it's a giant blank. Basically, when a Shadow Seer runs up on him, he basically just pulls out the book, and the Shadow Seer starts screaming and just dying. This Shadow Seer just falls to the ground, starts bleeding from every orifice known to man, and some that we don't know about.
Oh.
This poor Shadow Seer is just lying on the ground, bleeding and dying, while Bronislaw just stands over him talking shit. Think, Mark!
Think, Shadow Seer, think!
And then Bronislaw, he uses this dying Shadow Seer's body to send a message to the Black Council, which had sent these Harlequins after him, basically saying that, hey, I'm gonna fight Ahriman, but I'm gonna do it on my own terms. You know how I interpret that message? I interpret it as being like this. Like, imagine this. You're a member of the Black Council, one of the most powerful Eldar there are. You wake up one morning and go to your Wraithbone answering machine. A message from the Harlequin. I imagine he has killed that pesky Inquisitor. Let's see what this message is. Boop! And then all you hear on the other end, what'd you just fucking say about me, you little bitch? I've graduated top of my class in Inquisitorial Golem and have been involved in numerous secret raids against Chaos and have over 300 confirmed banishments. You think you can just send Harlequins after me? You're fucking dead, kiddo.
And then, close-up of the Elder.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I cannot stress enough how much of a living hell he makes the lives of the entire Eldar race.
You've convinced me. Bronislaw Czevak is greatest Inquisitor.
It gets better. How he caps this off is by stealing the jacket of this dead Harlequin. So whenever you see art of him, he has a blue diamond multicolored jacket. He just stole that off a Harlequin he killed. He just murdered a whole, troop of Harlequins.
Oh my god.
With the one book, and then he just stole their jackets and then left. Killed the Harlequins, refused to elaborate further, leave. Chad.
My clown outfit now.
My clown outfit now, idiot. Literally ran them for their phones. But that's not the end of him. Because in a short story called Shadowplay that Rob Sanders did get published, Bronislaw gets captured again. By none other than Lilith Hesperax. Uh-oh.
Oh.
That can't go well for the poor guy. But no, buckle up. Bronislaw finds himself captured by Lilith with one of Ahriman's acolytes. And Lilith, to intimidate him, pulls out her prized collection of poisoned knives and starts taunting him with them. But the problem is, for every dagger she holds up to try and intimidate him, he tells her, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what kind of poison you have on that dagger. I can identify it by smell, and I assure you, I've already drank the antidote." For every single dagger she has, her prized collection of poison daggers. "Oh, is that one gonna paralyze my nerves? Sorry, I already drank the antidote. Oh, is that one gonna make me have nightmares for the rest of my life? Drank the antidote. Is that one gonna melt my organs? Drank it already. You soaked that one in your own piss? Guess what, sister? Drank it." And Lilith basically starts having a conniption. She just starts having a meltdown, like on the floor.
Oh no!
The prized collection of daggers have been rendered moot.
Dang it!
He's like, he's having an identity crisis. My knives!
Man.
But then, one of Lilith's underlings bursts in and says, "Hey, we're out here on this jungle world, and there's some invisible monster. I think it's killing us. It's killing us off one by one. We need your help." And Lilith is like, "Hey, shut up. I'm having a bit of a moment here. I need a minute." But then this underling of Lilith starts freaking out and panicking, so much so that she accidentally scratches Lilith with one of her own poison daggers.
Oh, shit!
Lilith is in trouble, unless, of course, there was someone who knew where the antidote for this certain poison dagger was. Pan camera to the side, to the guy chained to the wall, with a giant fucking grin on his face. He basically tells her, maybe I could tell you how to get the antidote if you let me go.
Oh, man.
So she has to let him go and then run off to get the antidote, while he basically tells Ahriman's acolyte that he was imprisoned with to suck it, and he just leaves back into the webway. One step ahead of everyone, the best character in Warhammer, nobody can touch him. The Eldar can't touch him, Ahriman can't touch him, the Inquisition can't touch him because half of them want him dead. He wins all the time, no one can touch him.
All the while wearing a silly diamond clown suit.
From someone that he murdered.
Holy shit. You know what? Great way to cap this episode off.
Sorry this episode ran a little long, and I'm sorry for rambling.
Attention, freeborn Surats of the Inner Sphere. This is Ilkhan Magnifigal of the clan Spectral Narwhal. These broadcast channels are now our rightful property, and any attempts at reclamation will be met with mass destruction on your agri-worlds. As we speak, several clusters have successfully laid claim to your paltry dust bowls you call hive worlds. May this day go down in history where the Narwhal has...
You saw nothing.